convert customers by making use of design superpowers, he calls them, right? And he also is of the opinion that design begins way before the solution to the problem you intend to solve, right? And he believes that design weaves itself into the company's idea, the company's structure, the company's development, deployment, and marketing. And he has worked in several. I mean, Brian, he has over like 6 7 years of experience in this business, right? And he's worked as a product designer, brand designer, marketing designer, and marketing director. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Bryan Benibo. Woo! Drum rolls, drum rolls. His mic is off. I wish Google Meet can do a live clap. I don't know why Google Meet doesn't have that live clap.
Anyway, thank you so much, Anayo. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here to be with you guys, share ideas, share tips, and hoping that I will help Roots figure out how to design dashboards. Dashboards are not that difficult. It does look like so. So it's about time for us to start talking. And thank you, Anayo, for having people introduce themselves, because I like to do that. And can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
You said?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Then you can see how we can move from there. All right, so okay. So this is not going to be too long. I like people to ask questions, so I'll just quickly talk about some stuff, some tips to help you understand SaaS, to design SaaS products. Yeah. So I'm not going to start teaching, because I believe people that are here were all designers. I can see all themselves. Most of us here are UX designers. Who is this person? Please turn off your mic. We are all UI UX designers, so I think we already have an idea of what's going on. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share some tips that will help us understand stuff, right? Okay, so where is the presentation mode of this thing? The longer is Google. It's supposed to be somewhere here. Slideshow. There you are. Do you guys see what just happened now? All right. Anna, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
If you guys notice here, I was looking for an example of it, some things. I was looking for the button to transform my work into a presentation mode, like a slide mode. I was looking at it. I was looking for it at the left-hand side of my screen. You guys notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it is because I'm used to it already, right? So I'm used to that idea of anything that should be done all the time. Any process that the user will use or do every time is always on the left side of the screen, because naturally people think from left to right, up to down. So there's that left, right, up, down move that gives that what's it called? Excuse me, okay. Excuse me a little bit. I think I'm going to turn off my camera here. So what did I do? Hide. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so I don't know. I need someone to give me feedback.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. We can see you. We can see your screen.
Okay, awesome.
We can see your entire screen.
Thank you.
Aesthetics, Gmail.
All right, so I was talking about looking out for my slide button on the left side of my screen and the front side, and not doing that it's on the right hand side. I think Google should even take note of that, right? Except maybe they have their own reason, but I think it's one of my slides. I will go back there, then we'll talk about it. So let me move to the first thing today. So we are going to be using the laws of UX to give us a clear understanding how to design SaaS products. What are SaaS products? SaaS is what? Software as a service, apps that people use for their services, especially B2B businesses. That means a business to business. Yeah. So Slack is an example is a popular example of a SaaS product. There are other examples as we go on. I'm going to share an example here. So, for those of you who think that what's it called? Dashboard designs are difficult. They're not difficult. You just have to follow these rules, and once you follow these rules, you'll be fine with your normal design skills. Yeah, right. So the first one, which is my favorite, says users often perceive aesthetically pleasing design as design that is more what's usable. So I give an example here as Slack. Now, what does this mean? Let me bring it down to a very simple thing. It means that any design will make sense, any design will fine, any design that is pretty, any design that is pleasing to the eyes, users tend to feel like that design is more usable for them, right? So they want to be able to want to try to use it. They're ready to put the effort, they're ready to even forget, allow some issues to go by because they feel comfortable it's pleasing to their eyes. So it's important as a designer that you design pleasing designs that are pleasing to the eyes, designs that are clean, designs that are minimal. So you want to ask now is your question will now be, how do we achieve this, right? So I'm going to just quickly go out of my slide to just give you an idea. I believe most of us already know this. Let me go out real quick. So I think I'll go to dribble, and something a lot of us do. Number four is sometimes I have to warn some people when I teach design in class. A lot of people make this mistake, right? So what I tell them is, if you're a designer, do not be tempted to think that you can design straight from your mind. Do well to get inspiration. So for you to be able to, achieve designs that are aesthetically pleasing, designs that are interesting, you have to go and get inspiration from designs that are what aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes you ask yourself, how would you know if a design is aesthetically pleasing or not? You guys understand? How would you figure? How would you know? Because the designs can be designs that there are different styles and all that's going on. But how would you know this one is aesthetically pleasing? So for you to be able to figure that out, or straighten your mind up to understand that, okay, this set of designs are aesthetically pleasing, is what you do is, first of all, follow people who are better than you. Follow them on social media. When you follow them, you're going to see their designs, probably ones that are popular, that are doing great jobs out there. You follow them. Someone like Anaya, you should follow Anaya. I suspect Anaya is a very amazing designer. Follow Anaya. Yeah. So once you follow Anaya, you're going to see the sort of designs he's doing. So I'm going to take an example here. Let's say I'm working on a SaaS product, yeah. So I just go. So I begin to see some designs here, right? So these are obviously from professionals. You can see they are indicated as teams. So for you to start your design, you do well to come and look at these ones, get inspirations, see how they work, see what's going on, see how they use their see how they use their whites and their grays, see the way they use contrast, see the way they use hierarchy. Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, and these don't make the mistake to get inspiration from just one design. Like you can see, there's a lot going on here. So the minimum you can do, I think I should advise people to use 5 designs. So open up to 5 in different tabs, open 5 of them and begin to check this part. I like the way they use their illustrations are isometric or 3D shaped illustrations. You can steal that idea from there. You come to this other one. I like the way they curve all their edges, right? You pick that one there. You call me, I like the way they use how they are able to do their information, what's it called? Visualize their information and visualize that data here. You steal that one. By the time you do this to 3, 4, 5 designs, your own design will now come out as another design that is what's interesting. So while you're doing that, I actually tell my people that as a designer, as a budding designer, you should be able to skip time in a day, at least 15 minutes in a day, to scroll your smartphone, scroll your social media, scroll your Dribble, Behance, and look at great designs, admire them, look at how they use their colors, look how, as you continue to do this, your mind will begin to pick these things and begin to register them as great designs. Then you begin to know what great designs will look like. Because at the end of the day, if you're a newbie, there is a tendency to want to just do it from your mind, because all the great designers don't try to do design from their mind. They try to get what inspiration, no matter how good they are. And I can attest to this. You can just, no matter how good you are, I've been doing this for 7 years. Even me, I've been doing this for 7, 10, 100 years. I will still definitely go and look for source for inspirations, for ideas that will guide me. Do you understand? So this is where I would say, do not lean only in your own understanding. Go out there and look at what others have done. That way you can achieve an aesthetically pleasing design, right? All right. Are there any questions now before I go to the next one? Are there any questions? One can just turn off your mic and ask the question, and I can answer it before we move to the next slide. Is there any question, anybody?
Can I ask a question?
Awesome, awesome. I'm waiting for you.
Question is okay. My question is, as designing for a software as a service, does it
Mm-hmm.
mean that in every of the industries you are designing for, will have a kind of different tips to design for them, or in design for in UI UX, like in designing UI for different industries, is it one kind of guideline that we are following, or in every industry we have different
What you mean
guidelines?
is
I
like
don't understand.
what you mean is like a style, all right? It's like if you notice when you Web3 type of designs are a little bit different. No, a little bit different from Web2, right? You have a lot of gradients going on, you have a lot of 3D objects going on, right? So to answer your question, so if whatever project you're working on, when you go to get inspiration, yeah, when you go to get inspiration, right? You indicate that industry. You can say SaaS for Web3, right? Let's imagine this is what you want to do. Then inspiration to come from that direction. So that so at the end of the day, I like to say things like, if you want to design, let's say if someone wants to design SaaS for Web3, how do you know what SaaS for Web3 look like? You have to go and see what it looks like currently, because you don't know that maybe the information you have already might be something, you know, old and older idea or something you've seen before. But currently, what is the current look or style or design or ideas or what they look like, right? So you come to Dribble, Behance, or even Google, just search for it. So but then you put the project you're working on is a SaaS project, is a Web3 um, style and all of that, and you put all that query for the search to help you figure out. So once you do that, the designs will come out. When they come out, you now begin to design from there. That's where you begin to get inspiration. And mind you, do not just get only one design, like just pick one and get all your ideas and tips from that particular one. Do not do that. But if you do that, that is called you're ripping the design off. You are not being creative. You're just going to repeat somebody's work, and it is not a good idea. It does not work at all, right? So what I would advise is you always do well to go pick more than one. If you notice, like I said before, in the Web3 space, there's a lot of gradients going on, right? So by the time you pick one, pick two, pick three, you begin to have an idea, okay, what they look like, how they, then that can guide your own direction. Have I been able to answer your question there?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Awesome. So, as I'm teaching, or as I'm talking or teaching, as the case may be, whatever questions you have, feel free to just speak up and ask me. I like to be interrupted while teaching. I don't like to flow, right? So interrupt me and ask the question, and I'll quickly answer it quickly before I continue. All right, so like we said, once you're able to get your inspiration, then you are able to figure out aesthetically pleasing designs, right? So now this law says that designs that are pleasing, that means designs that are fine, beautiful, clean, minimalistic, nice, right? They are easier to use. So this stuff says, oh sorry, let me go back. Positive relationship with a design results in an interaction that helps catalyze creative thinking and problem solving. So because your design is interesting, they begin to like it. And they like it, they want to stay. And understaying, right? It makes them like, okay, let me use this app to solve what's problem. Let me use this app to do stuff, right? So that's aesthetically pleasing design keeps people there. So if your design is functional, there's this law, I don't follow it, that says, not like a law though, but I think it makes sense, that says function over form. There's nothing wrong with that. That's correct. But most of the times, if it does do great function and no form, people will judge your product from the form, and we don't even have the opportunity to now use it. And that way might lose users, right? So it is always important that even as function is important, form is also important. That's why one of my favorite products is Slack, because Slack is really designed properly. The form is nice, it's beautiful, and that way, people use it. A lot of people use Slack, right? So I go to the next one. So do well to understand that design creates a relationship with their user, right? So if it's a pleasing design, you have people what stay with that design. They want to use it. They want to see how it works because it is pleasing, and that creates that creative thinking and problem solving ability. So the next one is users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all other sites they already know. This is beautiful. This is awesome. Think about, you're a designer, right? We're all UX designers, we're all graphic designers and all of that. But I've been designing with tools. Before Figma came, people are using Illustrator and Photoshop to design products, right? So Figma came with that solution. So okay, let's design this thing let's create a particular products that people will use to design what digital products. So they designed Figma, and one of the things they did was they went to Illustrator and Photoshop and every other design tool that they have and picked those things that people are already used to. You notice the move tool, we're already used to the move from Illustrator and Photoshop, even from CorelDRAW. The only tool that is new here is the frame tool. The pen tool we're used to it, the type tool, the hand tool, all of these tools are tools we're already used to. They even picked the style, the layering form from Photoshop and Illustrator, and they worked with it here, right? So that way, when users come to your product for the first time, the cognitive load is very low. Okay, they're already used to it, so they also flow with it. I'm learning it, onboarding them or learning the app is just easy. There's no stress, it's just ABC because it's something that they're already used to. So I said design for patterns which users are accustomed. So as a designer, it's important for you to do your UX research. After you've done your UX research, you understand who your users are, get to know them, get to know why they do what they do. From there, you will figure out patterns which they are already accustomed to, apps that they're already using. Then from there, that is why the idea of getting inspiration is very, very, very important. It is way, way important for you to go get ideas from other products, see what they're doing, so that your product will not be too different. You don't have a product that is so new. When people come to you, it now takes a lot of cognitive load for them to understand it because it's entirely new. One part of the Bible said there's nothing new under the sun. So one of God's ways to create stuff and how people are able to use those stuff without, you can imagine the early men, those people when they were the early men, how do they figure out how to create fire, how to create this, how to do this? They figure those things out because God is a pattern that they already know. And we're able to figure this out. So an advice for you, my guys, is please do well to go get inspiration. And when you do, go to know your competitors, do your competitor analysis, know your competitors, look at your competitors very well, learn what you need to learn from them, right? If you notice, during the week, Adobe has been purchased. They bought Adobe. Some people say it's a sad story, some people say it's a good story, well, whichever case you are, but I think it's a good thing, right? So, and the product, this Figma is one product that's so perfect because once you're coming there, you already know what's going on. You just start using it, right? That's one. That's another one. Another one that, so what I did here is I did not mention the laws because if I mention the laws, it's going to be too easy for you. So so at the end of the day, when you are done, when you are free, you can go and study, go to your Google and search for laws of UX and read them. When you read them again, I'm going to share my slide. I don't know with Anaya, so maybe you guys can get it or so. Yeah, to help you understand these things properly. Awesome. So
Definitely.
Yeah. So people can understand clearly. So next is objects that are near or proximate to each other tend to be grouped together. It's a simple law. I think it's the law of proximity. Awesome. So proximity helps to establish a relationship between nearby objects. Elements in close proximity are perceived to share similar functionality or what traits. So it's important for you as a designer to be able to arrange your design. Don't just do things here and then. An example of this is if you're someone who knows how to cook, or you live in your apartment, in your house, it's a kitchen, right? A properly designed kitchen will be a situation whereby imagine yourself standing in front of the gas. It's either on a table, right? On that table, you have the cooking gas or the stove. You have the sink where you can wash your dishes and wash stuff while you're cooking, right? So while you are standing in front of that, you can imagine that your left side or the top there's a shelf, right? And there's other stuff around in the kitchen. So what am I trying to explain? A well-designed kitchen will have all the cutleries on one side, all the pans and pots on one side, all the plates on one side, and the proximity, the spaces between the person that is cooking and where this is should not be far. So even if it's a big kitchen, you will always have situations where all the stuff that is needed to cook with will be on one side. So if the person is cooking, they need to pick up spoon, they can just stretch their hand and pick the spoon. As they're cooking, they need to pick up the pot, they can stretch their hand to pick up the pot. So they don't have to be moving. Imagine if you're cooking and everything is scattered, you have to now walk to one part of your kitchen, if it's a big kitchen, to pick a spoon, come here to pick a seasoning, come here to pick yam, it will be too stressful. By the time you're done cooking, you'll be tired, you have done some amazing exercise. Yeah. So everything is designed properly and they're not far from the user. So as the person as she's cooking or as he is cooking, he stretches his hands to where the pot is, brings it on top of the stove, he turns on the tap very close to him there, arm's length. It fetches water, puts in the pot, it's boiling water. It turns there. You see the cutleries, just hand arm's length, picks the knife. It bends down from maybe one drawer or one of the cabinets, picks the yam, and it starts cutting. And from that place, it's standing, doesn't have to move anywhere, and is able to cook successfully without too much exercise. But if it's not arranged, the person will find themselves going left, right, back and forth to get things done. Before you know, by the time they're done cooking, they're already tired. They won't be able to do other things. They might be even tired. They won't be able to eat. So an example for a digital product is, as we look, if you can see Slack, Slack as, put everything that is together stays together. Like my example with the kitchen, all the cutlery are together. So if you check here, you'll find that all the companies that people work for or something they are working on, they are on one left hand side. You don't have them on each other side. You have, so your eyes, or when you are coming to Slack, your eyes know where to go to. These things are not changing. These are consistent, right? The threads, all the messages about that product is on the, it's on the left side. The hashtags, the channels are all on the left side. So with the eye movements, if you remember, it comes from the left to the right. So we want to arrange everything that is together, put on together. And if that particular action or task is an important one that people will do every day, you have them on the on the left hand side so that people can access, right? So just arrange your stuff together and everything will be fine. The next is what they call the von Restorff effect, also known as the isolation effect. The isolation effect predicts that when multiple similar objects are present, the one that differs from the rest is most likely to be what. Remember, this one is a long way of saying contrast. Contrast is key. If you look at the old product here, the old Slack here, the contrast is very high. That's why they use, this is the dark mode, right? And if you notice, the name of this user here is, see how bold it is at the top. The name of the company, Victor Odo Consult, is at the top there, right? You have ALX, you have other companies. Everything is is highlighted to show that this one is different from this one, and to create priority. Everything is prioritized. Everything is everything has an hierarchy attached to them. So as a designer, in fact, your basic principles of design are very important. If you miss your basic principles of design, you're going to have little issues here and there. You understand? So after this class, you can do well to go and study your basic principle of design once again to help you. And I think on the basic principle of design, you have things like law of proximity. You have contrast, which we've already talked about contrast here. You have proximity. You have hierarchy, right? And the list goes on. So those laws always help. Oh, sorry, those principles always help. The next is elements that are visually connected are perceived more as related than elements with no connection, right? So this is one reason. There's another product I want to put here, but I forgot that product. So this is Google. So alternatively, you can use a tangible connecting reference, lines, arrows from one element to the next to also create a visual connection. If you look at this, if you look at this, you have your all the menu are all on one side and they are separated with a line. All the tools on one side are separated with a line. This feature is almost on every other product that you can see. It's on Figma. They always do that. So you have to create that separation so that people the eyes know once the separation is there, it's easy for the eyes to figure their way through your products. But if you don't have that clear, tangible connecting reference, clear, tangible differentiation, clear, tangible spacing, you have people struggle to figure out what is where something is and where something is not. You understand? So always do well that your elements are visually connected. So from your proximity to your hierarchy, right? From your hierarchy, you figure out the most important things that your users need to do, the most important actions. You say, okay, for these actions, my users will be performing them all the time. Therefore, let me put them on the left-hand side. And when I put them on the left-hand side, I should be able to do what? To create connecting reference. I should be able to create enough white space. I should be able to do what? Create enough differentiation or contrast to make people see what I'm doing and understand, right? So if you've noticed, if the dashboard, on the rectangle frame, you have all your most important tasks on the left, and if you understand, and you have the other less important tasks probably on the right or some other place, right? So I think along the slide, I think I can also aid us. I think when we get that, I'll explain some things better. All right. Hope we're following. Hope you guys are hearing me. The next is what number of this? What number is this? This is number 7. Okay. Right. Yes. So number 7 says, I think this is the Miller's law. It says the average person can only keep 7 plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. In fact, scrap this. The average person can keep 5 items in their working memory. Do not stress people when they come to your product. Do not stress them. Find ways to reduce too many choices. Find ways to make sure that they don't think too much. Find ways to create clarity. So I gave an example of this website where they're buying shoes, right? So they have been able to create clarity. All the shoes, like I was saying before, most important things are what's on the left-hand side, but that's what people see first. So they arranged all the category on the left-hand side, the shoes, t-shirts, hoodies, and jackets, right? So everything. So at the end of the day, looking at it, you just notice that, man, guys, the basic laws of principles, the basic principles of design are very important to create great. Because why? Because for SaaS products, you have to, most of the times you have a lot of details, and your good understanding of hierarchy, proximity, right? These principles will help you arrange these details so that they are not too much and do not create much cognitive load in the face or eyes of in the minds of the user. So it is your job to be able to understand the design you're doing, categorize them, arrange them in categories or in boxes, in squares, just to make sure that people do not have too much, because they're not looking at it and struggling. Where is this? Where is this? Where is it? Before you know, and people are not so patient. Once they struggle in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they just get angry and go and look for another option. You don't want to be losing users. This is interesting. So the time to acquire, I think this fits law. The time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and size of the target. If you're a MacBook user or if you're a Windows user, you notice that there's the apps that are on your desktop, the most important ones that sometimes you create like a desk where these apps come and stay, right? So it is important that they are big enough for the touch. So I think this law emphasizes more on mobile, right? So I think I will later though maybe some of that space, right? So this particular law is basic for what mobile design, because on the mobile you have you have small spaces, and you have people sometimes some apps you're trying to use, and you have people or users struggling, to put their thumb on one app, and that as they tend to touch that app, it is touching another. So you have to create enough space. Like if you notice that these icons, there is this consistent space between each of the icons, so that people can make the mistake to click one, right? For mobile, you have that challenge, where people have big thumbs and they're trying to select a particular icon, and before they mistakenly select another one. They're trying to dial a number, they're trying to press 5, and mistakenly they're pressing 4 or 6, right? Even our keyboards, properly designed keyboards, when you're typing, you not make the mistake to type the wrong one, because your fingers buttons are big enough for your fingers and thumb. So it is important as a designer to be able to create enough space between your targets. Targets are like the icons, buttons, links, right? So create enough space around your targets, around your buttons, around your links, so people can click them. If it's a mouse, it's easier because the mouse is a lot smaller. But for mobile, people are going to be using their thumbs. So you want to be able to, create enough space for people to select those targets, right? Another example is if you check for mobile, you have most of the times, if it's the task. An example would be Gmail, where the task of creating an email is probably the most important task on the Gmail, right? So you have that Gmail button floating very close to your right thumb. If you look at it, if you go and check it out, you see the button is floating on the screen, just close to your right thumb, and you can quickly access it, right? So your job as a designer is to make things easy for your users. You don't want to stress them, right? So, and the good thing about SaaS products is people that are using SaaS products are usually not like the normal user. They already have experiences from other apps. That is why it's important to go and see what your competitors are doing, what they're using, what apps they're using before, right? So it's not like you're designing your app for someone who's the newbie. No, most of the time for a SaaS product, you're designing your product for someone who's already into, already into tech. If it's Slack, Before Slack came, people were already using other products that were helping them manage their team and communications, right? So when Slack came, probably we go and check all these things, improve their product, and came. And when they came, people loved it and jumped on it. Why? Because it was very easy for people to use it. When Slack came, I think that the tagline was email for companies, and people are able to just, it's able to be sending an email to your team all the time, right? You're just communicating with them with Slack, right? So SaaS users, SaaS product users, right? Those target audience are not newbies. So you want to be able to make life easy for them. So you're not tempted to like oversimplify things because they already have an idea, they're already techies, they're already using other products. You just want to go and see what they are used to and understand it. Once you know what they're used to, then you're able to now create that same experience for them. Then once you do that, once you create the same experience for them, the next thing will now be what? Making that experience what's better. Any questions before I continue? Are there any questions?
No,
Okay,
I don't
awesome.
have questions.
Oh, awesome. The next is what? The time it takes to this fits law. The time it takes to make a decision increases with the number of complexity of choices. This is where I would advise all the designers here. If you're ever designing a logo for a client or you're doing brand identity design, try not to give them more than 2 options, because the more options you are giving them, the more it will take them, the more it will take, the more time it will take them for them to make a decision. And as a designer, most of the time, I don't know if you have experienced this, I think we have all experienced this, where we do a design and we believe that this particular logo is best fitting for this business, right? You want them to choose it, right? Then you now go and have too many options. Let's say you're not gonna have like 3 other options and you now give it to them. The possibility for these people to choose the terrible design is like 90% of the time. They choose the terrible designs, right? So you want to be able to reduce the amount of options for your users. You want to reduce the amount of options for your clients so that you are not thinking too much, right? And sometimes, if you notice, the challenge people will have with this is, or the downside is that clients will be like, we want many options. Your job is to always educate your clients. Yes, sir, yeah, you might want many options, but the time I'm using to make a lot of options, I'm using it to create 1 or 2 that is perfect, where you can now make a choice. So most of the time, all the time, I give only 2 logo options, and you just choose from those 2. When it's up to 3 or 4, you find them thinking. That's where you now find them, taking your options and they'll share it throughout the office, and everybody will be choosing their own. Before you know, everybody is confused. But if it's just 2 options, people can choose. An example of that is when creating pricing section, right? If you notice here, they created 4 options, and they help you highlight the one that you think you should choose. So if you're going to, right, so you're helping them, you're reducing their cognitive load. You want people to be able to choose fast and pay fast, because if they waste time choosing, there's a possibility they might just change their mind. But if they're able to choose fast, they can choose fast, pay, subscribe, and your products is your team are happy, right? So you want to always reduce the amount of options, because once you do that, people will be able to make choices faster. An example also with Google. In 1998, Google had like 2 options where people can, right? People can search for stuff, query Google and get data. I think from their research, if you notice that people do not even use the one, they always use the one at the top. That way, they now brought it down to what? Only one. So sometimes, at the end of the day, that's why I always say things like, the designer is the one that makes the choice. And if you're a good designer, you'll be able to make great choices for your design, for your people. An example of this is in the story of Ford, right? When Ford was creating the first combustion engine car, they asked him, why did you decide to make this? Because he said to make a car because if you go out there and ask the users, that the users, which are people that drive or that use horses for their movement, because at the time it was horses, you ask them, what will you need? They will tell you what? Faster horses. They will always tell you faster horses. But he said, no, let's make a combustion engine. This will go faster and this will do a lot of more, have a lot more use than what horses. Horses are animals, they'll get tired, but this one will not get tired, right? So as a designer, you are the person that has the choice to make for your users. Your job is to understand the users and make that choice for them. Most of the time, I think Apple does this a lot. That's why if you notice, most of the in-app features is either they wait for people to adopt those features. You see, most features on Apple are already on Google and all of that. Then for Apple now, and Apple they have to believe that that feature is important before they can put it there. If it's not important, no matter how the competition does it, they will not put it. As a designer, you are responsible to make the choice. While you are doing your research and trying to understand them, most of the times you don't want to leave that option to them to choose. You want to choose for them because you are the one that knows what's best for them, right? So if you are doing your pricing section, it's always, if this one is highlighted in blue, select the one that you want them to what choose from, or you give them limited options to what choose from. That way you're pushing them, and guess what? They will thank you later. They may not thank you now, but they will what thank you later, especially if you are doing a good job. This is very interesting. This is another one. So the tendency to approach a goal increases with the proximity to the goal, right? This one is very interesting when you are probably embodying. So I said, what about making an onboarding experience engaging for users? Allowing the users, for example, to build his profile during an onboarding phase will make him or her closer to his goal, and therefore will be more likely to use the product rather than deleting it. An example of this is Duolingo, right? So right there, your first day that you just signed up on Duolingo and doing all of that, they want to make you what? They want to make sure you select a daily goal. Man, so once they force you to create that goal, subconsciously I've registered it that okay, I have something I want to be doing all the time, right? So as a designer, I want to see how we can, like, the same thing happens there. Make a choice for them. Give them, do this. You know, it's like you're leading them on. You know, that way you have them to stay. You don't want to, or you don't want to allow them to do things at their pace. You find way, you know, to lead them on. You find way to help them make choices. You find way to push them in the right directions. You understand? So if you notice this Duolingo app, after you have finished, even before you are creating your profile, they ask you to choose a goal. Once you choose a goal, it registers in your subconscious like, that's true. I have a language goal. I'm learning a new language. I have a goal to achieve every day. And subconsciously, your mind registers it, and you go and create a profile. So some of your products that you might also want to help the users, you know, complete their profile. That's why if you notice when you are logging into an app or anywhere, you want to see the social media, Facebook, Google APIs, right? So it's able to be using your normal username and password. You want to use the social media API to sign you in. So when you do that, they have your full data, and two, you feel like, okay, you have already created your profile, like, okay, I'm already on board this, let me just see what he does. But by the time you are now taking your time to fill all those long forms, maybe before there were long forms to fill when you are signing up, but now it's just two. It's just your name and your password. Then, right, the option now also came for just using let's push you, let's lead them on. Before now, they were filling forms to get user to sign up. Now it's just name and password, or email and password. Then they now come with the option of what? Social media, right? Social media API. So just one click. You don't have to fill in and post it anymore. As you just sign into your Google account, it just enters, and you have, before you know, 2 seconds, you have entered the app. You cannot go again, right? So it's your job as designers to help them make the choice and lead them on. All right, so I think that's the last one I have for today. What's the time? I have time for questions. I have time for discussion. 7:44. So we have time for conversations and all. So as you're here, please ask me questions. I can go back the slides if you need an explanation, all of that, and maybe any other design tips that you might want to ask. So this is the end of my slide, because I don't like to teach too much, but I feel like if you teach too much, it creates cognitive load for them, and they will not be able to assimilate all that you have shared. Just create a little for them to chew. All right, there. Anybody with questions? Now you can ask questions, even though it's not the SaaS, maybe other design questions though. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Brian. Yeah, can you hear
Yeah,
me? Yeah, so I have a question. When it comes to designing onboarding for SaaS, right?
yeah.
I've noticed a lot of products they use illustration, right?
Mm.
But on the other hand, I feel like images communicate more to people than illustration, because it's a SaaS product. And I'm kind of stuck in fact about the illustration that people are used to, or because the illustration is just there, and I feel like most time people just swipe, and then they without really noticing the illustration. So I'm stuck between the point about, okay, should I use images to represent these high quality images to represent this onboarding, or should I go with the illustration?
Amazing question. So this is how you make that decision. Yeah. Now, most businesses or startups use illustration because they do not want to they don't want to go get photographs, or they don't want to hire a photographer and all that. So they feel like illustrations are easier to use. But one thing that they do not know about illustration is, if you're going to use illustration, you have to be consistent with your style. An example of this is Dropbox. Dropbox illustration, like the whole, if you look at Dropbox branding and all that is going on with Dropbox, I mean, you guys know Dropbox now. It's a SaaS tool, it's a SaaS product tool, right? They don't use photographs, they use what? Illustrations. And it is in their branding. It's not a choice of let me just do no. It's in their branding. So for your case, you look at the product you're working on, what's in the branding, what's their style of imagery? Is it images? Is it illustration? And if it's images, is a particular style of images? Is it black and white images? Is it images with a particular style, tone, or shade? I don't know if you understand. So what you actually said is correct. People connect more with images because you see that emotional feel in the person's face. It's not like it's some kind of art or illustration. You have people, they see that thing and people connect more. You are very correct. But with the idea of branding, the company already they have a brand, that means they have an idea of what they want and they have the direction they are going. So you have to now decide, look at their branding and go from there. If they do not have a branding, you might have to create one for them. And maybe if you're not paying for branding, you now look at the project, look at the product, what is best. If it's image, my brother, you're the designer, you're the best person to make that choice. You're the creator here. So go on with the images. And the thing with this is, when you create those images, you should be ready to educate your clients why you're using these images. And if you do well, they will understand. If they're well reasonable people, except in a situation where they're not reasonable, they just want to do something, then probably you don't have a choice. Yeah, so for that decision, look to the business, the branding. If it's images, follow image style. If it's illustration, follow illustration style. And if you're going to follow illustration style, because you see with illustration is, a lot of people are now using illustrations. And if your illustration is not custom, when I mean custom, it's not your style of illustration, it will not make enough emotional impact to the users. Do you understand?
Yeah, it makes total sense actually.
Exactly. Yeah. So if any brand, I advise that if you're going for illustration, probably get somebody that will bring a style of illustrations for that brand. You don't going to free pick and other sites to pick illustration. Even if you go to pick them, edit them, customize them, let the style, all the illustration you're going to use for your onboarding, let them look a particular style that is unique and different from every other place. That way it will catch their attention. Because our eyes are very, 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 very brilliant. Once your eyes see something that is used to, it doesn't move out, it just moves on. But if something that is new, it's like, whoa, your eyes are just caught. And once your eyes are caught up with it, you want to look at it and understand it before you now move on. But once that illustration, especially if it's a SaaS product, because if it's a SaaS product, the users are already using other products already. So they already know what illustrations are out there. So if yours is like one of those ones that are out there, there's a possibility that they will just slide in, use your app, solve the problem and go. You not have them become loyal users where they come back all the time. They just download your app, solve that problem, delete it when they're done. Right? That's why branding is important. Yeah, any other question? I hope you answered the question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it does actually. I have
going to ask a question in a day. My name is Toby, and I have some questions on the online form that we took out. I'm going to ask one for them now.
Can you wait a little bit? Your voice is breaking or something. I don't know. I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, while she's figuring out her question, right?
Hi, can you hear me now, Bryan?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. It's better.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can go on.
Hi, Bryan, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You can go on.
Okay, cool. I said we have some questions from the online form. So I'll ask one now. And
awesome.
After this one question, Frank can go on with his question. So someone is asking, can I focus entirely on SaaS products as a niche So this person is a designer and trying to carve out their own niche for themselves, and they're asking if they can focus entirely on SaaS products. Thank you.
Okay. The idea of focusing is not it's not set in stone. Like you have to like focus. I don't know. We're in Nigeria, and the idea, if you focus now, there's a possibility of you may not be able to get gigs quickly because you're a newbie and you're not known, right? And you're not you don't have the experience. So what I advise is, before you focus and niche down to SaaS, do other designs, do SaaS, do B2C products, do normal product designs, right? Web3, do the one that comes to you. By the time you find what comes to you and what you like to do, you can now focus on that one. Even in that case, you may not have people coming to you. You may not have gigs coming directly for that project. You might have gigs coming, in other things. So, and at the end of the day, no matter how you're passionate about design, if you never chop, if you don't have a roof over your head, you will not be able to do these things well, right? If you don't have those basic necessities, your design will not come out well, because you'll be thinking about other things, or you'll be designing for the money, right? So for the beginning, do not rush into focusing yet. Work as the project comes, as they come, give it your best. As you are working on it, you are able to know, because right now, if you focus, there's a possibility that there's another design, another style, another product or another category that you might like very well, better than this one, but you do not know because you did not even attempt it, right? So for now that you're just starting, try it. Any project that comes your way, take it. If the money is good, take it, give it your best, right? When you give it your best, you will now know that, okay, this particular project and my experience, I like this one, I don't like it. At least you are sure now. You move to the next one. By the time you do 2-3 projects, one in finance, one in education, one in media, SaaS products and all that, you begin to have a understanding. Then you begin to niche down. If you have done all of that, you begin to niche down. You have gotten experiences, you have gotten referrals, people would have known you, then you can decide to niche down. If you still decide to niche down in the beginning, that will be the very strong one, and it works sometimes. If you're lucky enough, you can get the project quickly. If you're not lucky, it might take some time, right? So just figure out what works for you and follow through. Did I answer the question well? Let me see the question. Okay.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Frank, you can go on to ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Bryan,
Yeah.
done. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
While you were explaining earlier, something came to mind. Particularly when you mentioned brand, and that it is our job to encourage the person to advise the client on what type of brand to deal with or to choose. So now something struck me in an experience I have working with someone, a designer. So I noticed something, right? As a freelancer, right? Most of these clients, they just come to talk to you about wanting to design a product. They really have no idea. Sometimes it is difficult for them to. Sorry, you want to say something?
No, I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
Okay, sometimes it's even difficult for them to put their idea in a clear term for the designer to understand. So you find yourself struggling to get what this person is trying to say. And at some point, they get to figure out what it is they want to do as they progress in the design, right? Now, as a freelancer, and you're bringing in, even though you know that this person needs to define their brand and stick to it. Now, as a freelancer taking up that, you know that to be a thing of fear for most people not to embody themselves again with another task that has to do with designing, whereas you're already struggling with how to figure out what this person really wants, because the person is quite confused, uncertain about what they want. So at that point, wouldn't it be nice for you to recommend that if the person can, they should embody get on board a brand specialist? Yes. Do you understand? Because at that point, right, I noticed something. Some designers will start having issues progressing with the work, or a difficulty meeting the timeline, or before some of them, because with this now, they might start looking very incompetent or start giving excuses. I think is from the get-go, it's best we clear out our scope, what we can do or what we can't. Even though we think a brand is important. It's good to stick to a particular brand tone, but how do we get around that? Because that can be a problem. I've seen this affect a lot of jobs like that.
Okay, yeah, your question is really, really valid. Yeah. All right. As a designer, yeah, like doctors, they select their patients. If a project comes to the doctor, like someone is sick, person has cancer, and the doctor is not a cancer specialist, what would they do to you? They write a letter and say, go to this person, right? So most of the times, you want to select the kind of client you work with. Not everybody is your client. Yeah. Now, for you to be able to select clients, that means you have grown to the point where you are not because it will be hard if you're a beginner and maybe you're fending for yourself and projects are coming, you're selecting, right? It might be very hard. But what you do is, like you said yourself, once the client comes, before you take on the project, have that conversation with the client and tell the client, see, if I can go on with this project, I will need the brand. You need to go and get your full brand guide. From the brand guide, I'll know what to do. If you don't want to get a designer, I can do it for you, but you have to pay for that separate service. So when they decide to, okay, they will pay, you can go and get a brand designers. If you're not a brand designer, get somebody that will do that for you. But before you take on the project, spell it out what you need and what. But at the end of the day, see, the product owner, the person that has the idea, is responsible for that product too. They are responsible to know what. In fact, they are supposed to come to you, right, with a document. I think most of the time I've worked with a client that came with a product roadmap. Do you understand? So you want to tell the client, okay, see, that's a challenge with a lot of Nigerian clients, because sometimes they just have an idea, they're just working on the street and they get an idea, and the next thing is you want to come meet a designer. That's the wrong move, right? So if you notice that kind of thing, that this person does not really know much about this product, they will now come and put me I'll now leave product design and be trying to understand the product, understand market, be doing the business side of the thing for the client itself, right? So all those things you have to let the client know that this is what's going on. I cannot start designing this product now if you don't even know your users. Do you understand? So educate the clients, tell them what to do, and if it looks like a project that's going to challenge you, feel free to drop it. You're not going to die. It's not the project that's feeding you, it's God that's feeding you. Do you understand? Augustine, Frank, wait, before Augustine go, Frank, did I answer the question?
Yes. Thank you.
So that's how you do it, right? So you select your Augustine, just wait a little bit, I will get you to talk. Choose your clients, and once you have chosen the client, educate them, right? If they agree with you, you go on. If they don't agree with you, feel free to drop them, right?
Sometimes choosing clients can be difficult when somebody is trying to survive, just like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I've been there. The thing, what happens is, if you're trying to, let's put a situation where you're trying to survive, right? You're just a beginner and you're on your own, and someone just dash your laptop, you went to do the calls, you're now starting this thing. Then one client comes with, like, let's say 100K project and wants to kill you with all the work. I think things you can do. You can tell the client no and leave off, anything that comes, pray to God to feed you, and you continue to learn and improve. Or two, you take on the project as a learning phase. Open your mind to anything that comes with it and use it to learn. Either way, there's nothing wrong. It depends on what you can handle, right? Not everybody is patient enough to listen. Like me, I'm patient. I can sit down and listen to you for 2 hours. You just be talking, right? So if you're not a patient person, don't over enter. So that relationship is not made. You don't have a bad relationship, and the client will be talking to somebody and calling your name in a bad situation. So it's that you are going to, whichever way you are going to take it, finish it. Because at the end of the day, everybody knows where it's paining them. My guy, if you need to take a project to just be able to eat your next meal, take the project first. Go and eat. Even if at the end of the day you not finish the project properly, you have gotten an experience. Everybody make mistakes. Or if you ask Anayo, I think he has mistakes that he has made in the past. I have a mistake or an experience that taught me some stuff. So it's okay to do what you have to do to see things through, right? So Augustine, you have a question. You raised your hand.
Oh, okay. So my question really is, so you work for an organization, right? Pretty much a startup, and you have a senior designer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And you have a senior designer, and the person is not really good visually, right? And it's good with UX, but it's not really good visually, and it's affecting the product, right? And you as a designer, you can't boast of the company you work for because the senior is not doing what is meant to be done, right? And on your own personal project, you explore, you come out, you bring out good product, and you look at your own company product and you're like, what the hell? Like, why are we still using this typeface, color code, and everything? You get, and when it comes to the senior designer talking about, oh, I like the way these people are doing their website, and you will be like, okay, you like it, but why can our website be an inspiration to other designers, right? So being in that circle whereby the senior designer is cemented, like whatever he knows is concrete to them, right? And it's affecting the product. And management doesn't really care because they know less about design, right? So what do you do, right? Because yeah, it's one thing to protect yourself from not being affected by bad design by trying to work on other projects to feed your eye with good design, right? And it's another thing to still come back to what you do pretty much every day and still face that struggle, right?
All right, but let me answer your question. Yeah, you have to be able to separate passion and work, right? Some of us are lucky as we are passionate about design, to get a company or where they allow us to make the rules and make the choices, and the company sees what we're doing and they love it and we're growing from there. That's a lucky person. So that way, your job becomes your passion, because if you are able to explore things, you're able to advise your bosses and they listen to you and they're able to, you guys are, there's a conversation about these things and decisions are made. You're not the type that it's not a situation where, the boss just come, I need this done in red. Like, sir, you just don't like red. You users are older people, they don't like red. The guy shouts at you, and in that kind of case, like in case you have where the senior designer does things in a particular way that's not working for you, right? Now, one thing I'll ask is, at the end of the day, you're a junior designer. You're not the one that makes the choice. You're just a junior designer. There's a senior designer who has been working with this guy for this thing for quite some time. So basically, they will listen to him in whatever he does, right? Now, once you get into a company, it is your job as a designer to create a familiarity, become friends with everybody that makes decision in that company. You have to be friends with people. It's a soft skill that is very important as a designer, because as a designer, you're the one that is seeing what your users are going through, and you want to be able to make that decision to help your users, and that will now increase revenue for your company. If you're not able to communicate with your bosses and tell them ideas about your users, there's trouble. One, you will not be happy. The job will just be like a chore. You just go do what you have to go and move, right? Now, for that kind of situation, like what you just explained, just if you notice that you cannot communicate with the senior, if the senior designer, I believe that you can discuss with him, and maybe let's say if he's not listening, right? My brother, you cannot do much. Just follow them do their design. Follow them do their design, get a salary. If you cannot handle that, resign. Go and work somewhere else. Because one thing that happens is that everything you do becomes a habit. If you do something over and over and over and over again, it becomes a habit, right? So if you have a senior designer that works the way that I don't like, maybe you're even better than him. Obviously, he's going to rub off on you because he's your senior designer. You're going to do an amazing design. It's going to tell you, guy, do it like this. Or let's say you have a developer that cannot code well. Anything you do, it will go on, will not code it properly. You don't have to go and change because you know that this particular design you did, you'll be able to replicate it in the code. You now make it easier for him, right? So in those kind of cases, you have to be able to communicate with them. If communicating does not work, you have the choice to either stay there and just do their work for them. Then once you are doing that work for them and the job is not giving you happiness, on your free time, you've heard that thing that people say, work for your company and work more for yourself. So on your free time, you're probably looking for other jobs. You're creating better portfolios to get other jobs so that you can leave them at one time. Because at the end of the day, people make these choices. So there's not much that you can do. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thanks very much. I think the part
Yeah,
where
can
I
I
have
please add to this? I kind
Okay,
of
wait,
have
Frank, before you do, I don't know, anybody else wants to ask a question before Frank goes? I think we're about to round up. It's already 8:05 and we're supposed to go. If there's nobody, then maybe Frank, I need to say something.
yes, just to add to what you're saying, in a bid to put in effort on how to survive in that kind of environment. So I'm actually in a working environment where this thing, Austin just talked about, prevails, all right? So, but I think one other thing you can add to the many options Bryan have said, Austin, is that now, because of your commitment to the company, to the organization, you're so passionate to the organization that you don't think quitting is an option just yet. You know, maybe there's something the working in the company will bring to you. Yeah. So you can start by designing something that you think that is befitting, like a future you think the will help the company in the aspect of the interface you're trying to communicate to them. All right. You can do that to an extent. Keep you definitely get an opportunity one day to present it to this same boss. Remember, you have to first, after you have done design, you have to present it with him on a very good day, but not behind him, because that can backfire and it will result to something very disastrous. The reason is, if you don't learn to fight your, how do you put it now? If you don't learn to take the bull by the horn or deal with issues like this, if you leave them and run off to the next opportunity, you might likely find a worse situation than that. So I think exploring other options is one of the things you have to do, is to redesign something you think that is better than what the company have, then present it on a very good day, because you definitely get the opportunity, particularly when he is in a good mind, or it's a good day for the person. You present it to him again. Thank you.
All right, that's nice, Frankie. You've done well. All right, Anna, I don't know.
All right.
Anybody-
Thank you so much, Bryan. So I think that will be enough questions for today. All right. So thank you so much, guys, for asking questions. And also thank you very much, Bryan, for giving us insight into the world of software as a service product. I'm sure right now a lot of people understand about. I'm sure a lot of people understand about SaaS product right now and how to design SaaS products, right? So thank you so much, Bryan, once again. You were calling Anayo, you're making mention of Anayo. I don't know what you heard about me, but yeah. All right. So usually in Pexels, what we do is that we allow, we take live selfies, right? Especially in times like this. So this will be a good time for us to turn on our camera, right? If you're in a very nice place, or even if you are in a place that is not nice, don't worry. One day we'll definitely leave the trenches, and so let's turn on our camera, let's take live selfies, and call it a day, or a night rather.
Okay.
So let's get that quickly. Let's get that done quickly. Okay, interesting. Right. So I believe we have enough cameras on. So let's so everybody, when I say you should say cheese, you say cheese. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, say cheese.
Cheese.
Why is that? People know what you maybe it's my car. Is my camera not? What's going on right here? It's taking more time for my camera to turn on these days. Okay, let's do that one more time. I don't know why my camera is not turned on. I think it's a problem. All right, so okay, let's do that again. Say cheese.
Cheers.
Peace.
Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for today's session. Thank you for joining up. Thank you, Bryan. Bryan, just one last word. So where can we find you? Right, where can we like find you on socials and all of that? Are
Okay,
you
so
accessible?
yeah, I'm very accessible because I find passion in teaching people or talking to people about design. Yeah, so I teach in a couple of places. I think if you guys have heard of Overlay, I teach in Overlay. I teach in Tech Creek and other personal ones. So I'm open to mentor. So what I do is you can send me a DM on Twitter. Then if it's a question I can really answer, I can just send you. I can reply a DM with an answer or anything I can do for you. Yeah, so I'm open. My handles are Bryan Benibo on all socials. BRYANBENIBO on all socials. So once you DM me, if the thing is, I mean, maybe I'm not close to my phone at the time, or I'm doing other stuff. But once I see a DM, I'm going to follow you back. If you follow me now, I will follow you back. Because yeah, maybe if it's later, maybe like when I come and see it, I'll follow back. Then if you do a DM, maybe a question, you need something to talk, want to talk about anything in design, and once I'm free, I can reply you with an answer and stuff. So that's the bit.
Thank you so much, Bryan. It's been a pleasure having you today on AM session. Thank you for taking up your time. Thank you for taking your time to come to give us insight at Pexels. All right then, guys. It's 12 p.m. Enjoy the rest of the night. Have a lovely week.
All right,
Bye.
guys.